Welcome back to the Uncensored Voice. This is Randolph Macias, your host. I just want to bring you up to speed as to what's going on in the current news. So I guess we'll start local, of course. As we all know, on it was May 30th, the agreement with the HHS and the Office of Refugee Services. I don't know if that's a federal agency or a local one. I think it might be a local one by M.K. Davis Restaurant, I think. But anyway, the two had an agreement that ended on May 30th. After 6 weeks, it housed 2,000 plus boys from ages 13 to 17, mostly from Central America. Well, it's likely that some were MS-13 members mixed into this group as a result, of course, the Biden administration policies. We are aware of sexual allegations and escapes from this facility. No one talks about that in the local news, only that these dreamers found homes and sponsors here in the United States. But there was a lot that went on inside that building that we did not know about. But so of course sexual allegations have abounded, and just nobody wants to talk about it. So moving down to the border area in the Rio Grande Valley. Let's talk about that. On August the 1st, beginning on August the 1st, about 2 days before that actually, on July 30th, sex offender Mara Salvatrucha was arrested illegally migrated from El Salvador, and was also a confirmed MS-13 member. Guess where he came through? He came through, well, Cameron County. And I had talked to Commissioner of Precinct 2, Joey Lopez. He said he wasn't too concerned about crime in that area or surges in illegal immigration, but Mara Salvatrucha might have changed his mind because it happened after I had talked to him and interviewed him there in Cameron County. Hopefully I'll get a chance to interview some more elected officials there. He was a Democrat, and we got along just fine. We took a picture together, and he told me it was pretty much a duty to engage with the press. So that much I can really admire about what he did, and I really appreciate his time. But I do not agree with his perspective on how things are run in Cameron County under Democrat rule. So he was, Morris Salvatrucha was arrested and confirmed MS-13. Fort Brown Border Patrol Station then arrested a Honduran sex offender, also near Brownsville, coming through Cameron County. And this is an unnamed illegal immigrant sex offender. I don't know why in some cases they don't want to name them, but they're illegal, and I'm sure they know his name, but there's a reason why they're not releasing the name, and I want to find out why. But it is what it is. All right. So overall, 7,830 migrants have been arrested, and 1,600 of them in the Rio Grande Valley alone. Okay? And we know of only those two sex offenders that I talked about. There's probably more out there, and we're not even including the ones that ran away from the Border Patrol agents. So there could be a lot more, but 7,830. Now, I also made a point to County Commissioner Precinct 2, Joey Lopez, that I said, sir, are you aware that 67 plus, and in some cases I've heard over 100 different countries and nationalities come through his county? I mean, come on now. It's real. They apprehend Chinese, they apprehend Vietnamese, they apprehend Russian, they apprehend everybody. The whole world is coming through Cameron County and then up into the following counties, all the way up into Brooks County, where it's the most dangerous, where they mostly die because they want to go around the Falfurrias checkpoint. That I talked to Brooks County Sheriff, Sheriff Benny Martinez, great, awesome guy. Once again, never buckles under the weight of his badge. He is a Democrat, but we got along just fine, and he had no problem with me asking him the questions that I asked him, and I appreciate the views on that because I got well over 100 views on that, so I really appreciate that. Make sure you take a listen to that and watch it as well, and it's the newest information that I was able to obtain from Sheriff Martinez, and I have an invite to come back to do a ride-along with him in the hopes that I can gather some further footage in the unforgiving Texas wilderness out there where they do their 24/7, 365 operation every day with little to limited money from the state to recover and autopsy bodies and try to repatriate some of these folks or just release them to family members here in the United States. Some of them, most of them did not get through alive going through that route. But that was a whole other story, so please take a listen to that video. But meanwhile, in the El Centro sector in California, multiple illegals and Border Patrol agents were fired upon from the Otay Mountains, which happened to be 250 yards from the international border. Now, the Border Patrol agents were doing their job. They were apprehending illegals, which is a standard now. So I described them before as a welcoming committee instead of actually apprehending and doing, detaining them and then making sure that they're properly adjudicated, which most of the time they don't even show up. But now the catch and release program is back, and I'll explain that a little further down the line. So the Mexican government was notified of this horrible, shooting. I don't know how many weapons were involved or not, but residents did report seeing a truck and a motorcycle fleeing the scene in Mexico. But this is considered an international incident. Now, I am pretty sure that the Border Patrol agents are prohibited from firing back into Mexico to save their lives, or even those of the illegals that came across that they were apprehending. So, once again, our Border Patrol agents get put in harm's way every single day, getting fired upon from the Mexican side. And then the people on the Mexican side that are shooting into our country, causing international incidents, know that the Mexican government will do nothing to them. Nothing at all. But if we do it on our side, in response to a firing upon us, we get in big trouble, especially with this administration, and could go to jail for a very long time. And Mexico would make a big deal out of it to protect their citizens, but don't give a shit about our citizens. Okay? So they were notified and likely did nothing. So no suspects are in custody, but as a result of that shooting, Marine air operations were deployed, and a tactical unit was deployed. But of course, by that time, these people are long gone, man. They're just gone. They're just whatever. They're like, fuck you. Simply because they're in Mexico. They know they can't get caught. They know they can't get apprehended, and they know that they know that they paid off the Mexican government. So the Mexican government just responds in a formal way, like, "Oh, we'll look into it," but they never do. Okay. As a result, Border Patrol agents' lives are at stake, in addition to the illegals that come into our country illegally and take all of our take all of our welfare and food stamps and all of our resources. But yeah, they put their lives on the line for them too, and thank God nobody was killed. Okay, so no suspects in custody. So 3 days before that happened, in the El Paso sector, 2 high-caliber weapons were fired across our international border from Mexicans on their side of the border. So it was a good thing Kamala Harris wasn't in that area during the time that shooting took place, because they tried. Imagine this. She goes to El Paso to avoid all the violence and all the bad photo ops that would likely occur in the area where it is the most prevalent, like in Brownsville and Laredo and all that, and goes to El Paso. Imagine if the shooting occurred when she happened to be visiting in that area. Boy, oh boy. Well, it would be like the violence said, okay, you want to ignore us over here? We'll go over there to the El Paso side near Juarez, and we'll do the shooting over there. Well, it did happen, but thank God nobody got hurt once again. But high-caliber weapons are being fired into our country. This happened after the incident in the El Centro sector, which happened very recently. So, yeah, 3 days before, there was a shooting there in El Paso. Okay, so as a result, CBP lives are in danger, and they are likely prohibited from firing back into Mexico, is what I wrote. Now, amazingly, Democrat Laredo Mayor Pete Sines pleads for more federal resources and more agents. Now, guys, they're already strained to the core. Brooks County Sheriff Martinez said if they keep on, he said as a result of the Biden policies, they lost a lot of agents already in that main checkpoint, the very big checkpoint. He fears that they could shut that checkpoint down because they're drawing so many agents from there to accommodate the illegals coming in to Mexico, from Mexico into our country for logistical processing. They're going to lose them all to processing, and as a result, our checkpoint could be closed down and fall furious. Sheriff Martinez would not be too happy with that. He keeps on losing federal agents in that area, and he fears now at some point in time that they may actually close that checkpoint down. Let's hope to God they don't, because, and he also mentioned, if they opened the border and removed all the barriers immediately after Biden took the oath of office, he says, why do they even bother going through the Texas wilderness if he just opened up the border? What worries do they have anymore? Is essentially what he said in that interview. So Democrat Laredo mayor wants more help from the feds, as if their resources weren't strained already. Stash houses. I talked to Sheriff Martinez about stash houses. So, of course, not just in his county, his city of Falfurrias, Texas, but they said that some illegals are kept in stash houses for so long, they run out of food and water. They have nothing. There's no sustenance. There's nothing. They don't know what to do. They're supposed to be picked up, but nothing happens. So they end up calling 911 themselves and turning themselves in to the local authorities because they value their life, and rightfully so. I mean, they shouldn't be in our country anyway, and they wouldn't have been put in this situation had they not crossed the border illegally in the first place. But once again, people pay thousands of dollars per head, and all the cartels care about is making money. So, and the really sad story is a 17-year-old girl attempting to alert authorities was tortured by cartel members for 5 days. 5 days of torture. I'm sure this goes on a lot more than we could possibly imagine, but in this case, this was reported 5 days. It could have been sexual assault for 5 days from multiple individuals, just assaulting this girl. There were wounds all over her body, and the cartel members, or the perpetrators, whatever you want to call them, the illegals, they poured salt and gasoline on these wounds, and the woman, the girl, she's a 17-year-old girl, was likely sexually assaulted, wounded, and salt and gasoline poured on her wounds. So it just exacerbated her pain and suffering. This happened right here in Texas as a result of the Biden administration. Thank you, Joe, for causing all this chaos and horrible things happening to 17-year-old people, illegals, being left in stash houses to die right here in our state. Thank you very much, Mr. Biden. Well, so that's what happened to her, and eventually the story got out, and hopefully she's okay, or at least better off than she was before. Let me give you some statistics. Okay. In the last full month of President Trump's administration, unaccompanied minors apprehensions were 4,993. During Joe Biden's first full month, that number nearly doubled to 9,457 unaccompanied minors. Those are just the unaccompanied minors. So we got the last full month of President Trump, and we got the first full month of President Biden, Joe Biden. Nearly doubled. The word got out. He said, come over here. If you're oppressed, you need to come over here. And so, boy, they really came over here, and they just really tripped us up really bad, putting our Border Patrol agents in danger, our fellow citizens in danger. Hell, even the illegals are in danger of their lives, because until they get found, it's every person for themselves, basically. Sex offenders. This happens more than you could possibly imagine as well. So we know that San Antonio has had multiple sexual allegations at Freeman Coliseum. And I cannot find specific cases of sex offenders from this group, but it's been reported that they have occurred. And so if they occurred inside the building, which at that point in time likely became federal property, there was no way the Texas authorities or the local authorities could get involved for the health and welfare of children on a federal facility. So that, they expired, the agreement expired on May 30th, so they're likely all gone now. But there were people escaping from that Freeman Coliseum area. There were sexual allegations. I don't know if it was the people that they had people. This is amazing. The Department of Homeland Security, or the FBI also, had actually waived FBI checks for people going to these Biden detention camps to assist in services to help these unaccompanied minors, most of them which I think were MS-13 members. It's really sad. So maybe, for all we know, some of these volunteers could have sexually assaulted some of these kids. We were told they were only boys, but the federal government has lied to us before. They lied to Terry Johnson when they said, "Oh, don't worry, Mr. County Judge. Yes, you saw it on the news that kids are coming to your county, but it's going to be in a couple weeks," and they showed up the same day. So we know for a fact, on the record, by way of County Judge Terry Johnson, Midland County himself, the feds lied to him. So I don't believe anything that they say, but I don't think it was just boys. I think it could have been boys and girls, and they were being, horrible things probably were happening inside that building that we can never verify and never go in and check out. And at this point, they're gone anyway. So right here in San Antonio, this is the local part of it here. Okay, so but in the RGV sector, however, we have Mara Salvatrucha, who is a confirmed MS-13 member, and boy, he was a sex offender. And then we have an unnamed Honduran national, once again, unnamed, so we don't know who the hell he is, but we do know he exists. So that's RGV sector. Let's see, El Centro sector, we have one unnamed sex offender, and we have one sex offender by the name of Santiago Echevarria Gutierrez, apprehended in August. As a result, in El Centro sector alone, okay, there are confirmed 37 sex offender arrests coming in just through that sector alone. Imagine how much more in all the other sectors that they're apprehending that we don't hear about. I can only find out the ones that I told you about, that the two in RGV, and it's just limited information I get the closer I get to the RGV area. But El Centro in California, that is 37 confirmed sex offenders, illegals. Likely 90 to 95% of them are MS-13 members. It's a travesty. This is a result of the Biden administration. I'm just reminding you once again. Okay. DHS Secretary Mayorka, moving along, the Stay in Mexico policy. So we know that Texas filed a complaint on January 22nd, 2021. Missouri sues Biden with the 12-state coalition on March 8th, 2021. Texas and Missouri together sued the Biden administration in April, which is the one we're most familiar with right now. So because Mayorka, very shortly after that, issued a memo formally ending the Stay in Mexico policy. Now, Texas complained about this days after the inauguration of Joe Biden, because it happened. We already knew it was going to happen, but we had to wait for him to do it, and then the complaint was filed on the 22nd of January, days after the inauguration. So he issues a memo formally ending the Stay in Mexico policy in violation of what is called the Administrative Procedure Act. And as a result of the violation, it's federal judge, I don't know if I can pronounce this correctly, but I'm going to try, and I'll spell it out too. Federal Judge Matthew Kacsmaryk, I believe it's Kacsmaryk, Kacsmaryk. He is a Trump appointee, federal judge. He ordered the Biden administration to reinstate President Trump's Stay in Mexico policy. Why? Because it worked. Because it worked. Mayorka had commented, actually, that he said that it was President Trump's fault for putting a disruption in the orderly process of processing illegals. But we all know for a fact that the numbers do not lie, and the number goes way up after the inauguration of Joseph Biden Jr. But so he wants them to reinstate President Trump's Stay in Mexico policy. Remains unclear, but it's very likely that the Biden administration will elevate this to the Supreme Court of the United States. Now, Mayorka, quote, says, "The border is secure. The border is closed." Bullshit. That's what I say. Limited media access was addressed on this as well, because some of the media wonder, why can't we see what's going on? And Mayorka blames it on COVID-19. But it's the very thing that they're doing by letting the illegals in, who are 20% or more infected with COVID-19, is the reason why we have limited media access, but it's just a political excuse. So he blames limited media access on COVID-19. He says, quote, "We are working on providing access." Well, I'm going to be trying to get some of that access because I want to see what the hell's going on over there. I've been down there multiple times, and I'm going to be down there as often as I can to see what the hell's going on here, because this is a travesty. This is ridiculous what's going on with this idiot. So the problem was caused by Biden's policy. He has no regard for the demoralization of his agents. And he has a quote out there saying something pretty cold about how he responded to his agents being demoralized. they are overwhelmed. There's multiple states helping Texas out. DeSantis is one of them. Kristi Noem is one of them. Multiple other states are sending their National Guards to help us because the states have to work on their own because there's just no other way that they can't do it. They have no federal help at all. In fact, even DHS, CBP agents are being strained to the limit. I mean, there's too much. It's overwhelming. But it's really sad what's going on. Really, really sad.